the family, they just have a lot of family drama. I don't know. It's like a cursed family or something. I hate to say that, but like it's just a lot of stuff happens in that family.
Blake Lively's perfect public image has shattered, exposing a ruthless side so toxic that even her own family has cut ties with her. The explosive fallout has turned into Hollywood's biggest scandal, and she's pulling every trick in the book to repair her tarnished reputation. Get ready for the shocking truth about the star who thought she could outmaneuver everyone, even her own flesh and blood. Blake Lively has spent years crafting the perfect Hollywood fairy tale, an acclaimed actress of flawless style, a magnetic charm on talk shows.
Anna, what does it mean to be working with Blake again?
Oh, we're talking about you all day.
Oh my God, I'm gonna take it.
Come on! Get it in selfie mode! Be prepared!
And a picture-perfect marriage to Ryan Reynolds, from lucrative endorsements to magazine covers. And to list friendships, she built a public image that oozed warmth and relatability. But in the ruthless world of Hollywood, no reputation is ever truly safe. Now, the illusion has shattered in dramatic fashion, dragging not just Blake Lively and filmmaker Justin Baldoni into the chaos, but also Baldoni's close-knit family, led by his father, Sam. What started as a quiet legal dispute has exploded into a full-blown spectacle, exposing a deeply divided industry and a star who may have pushed too far.
This is some family drama. You don't do this. You don't do this in front of the scenes. This is not right, okay?
You realize just how intense the tension between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni truly is. Whispers swirled among industry insiders that Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's working relationship had turned sour on set. Rumors hinted at heated creative clashes Blake allegedly pushed for script changes, while Justin fought to protect his vision as director. What started as quiet behind-the-scenes tension soon spilled into the press as hush gossip. Blake was painted as controlling and demanding, while Baldoni was seen as easygoing but secretly frustrated by her micromanagement. But when legal documents surfaced,
we appeared to have all this money, or we appeared to be rich.
It's painful. It is painful.
Fans realized the stakes were far higher. Blake had made serious allegations of inappropriate behavior. Justin's camp fired back, accusing Blake of using underhanded tactics to push him out of his own project. The media, always hungry for a juicy Hollywood feud, pounced on the scandal. Tabloids speculated that Blake was maneuvering behind the scenes, pushing for new producers, a new director, and even a rewritten script, slowly sidelining Baldoni from the very project he had nurtured from the start. But to most fans, it was just another dose of Hollywood drama until everything changed. Enter Justin's father, Sam Baldoni, an unknown figure to the public until that moment.
And so despite all of the resentment, to me, at the end of the day, that's what it means to be men.
While many Hollywood parents avoid the spotlight, Sam had seen enough. He wasn't about to let the narrative tilt in Blake's favor without a fight. Instead of a dramatic press conference or a generic statement, he took a different approach. The video he posted was simple but absolutely damning. It showed a bulletin board covered in glowing descriptions of Justin's character: compassionate, principled, and dedicated.
We're women, so we can just lie and cheat and steal our way in to control these big movies. I mean, how disturbing is this to you?
Focused, respectful, generous at first, Sam Baldoni's video seemed like a heartfelt show of fatherly support. But the real bombshell, his caption, in a world full of Blakes and Ryans. Be a Justin. He never directly named Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds, but there was no doubt about who he was calling out. The subtle yet cutting remark ignited a firestorm online within hours.
The video Sam posted to social media, specifically short-form video platforms, to deliver what might be called a precision strike on Lively's credibility.
But we never talked about it. I was suffering. We never talked about anything. You're my dad, and I was having resentment for all the stuff we don't talk about.
The video Sam posted.
The post went viral, thousands of retweets, TikTok stitches flooding For You pages and Twitter, and a frenzy with heated debates. For Lively, this was a brutal, unexpected hit. She and Ryan Reynolds had carefully built their reputation as Hollywood's golden couple, beloved for their playful social media exchanges, their glamorous charity appearances, and their seemingly rock-solid marriage in an industry full of scandals. But Sam Baldoni's words shattered that polished image in an instant. Fans devoured the drama, and comment sections erupted with speculation. Was Blake's victim narrative just a cover-up? What started as a simple workplace dispute had exploded into an all-out war.
That's what you're doing right now. You were nervous. You texted me last night. You came here. You knew it wasn't going to be easy. We're going to talk about stuff. And you showed up anyways. And you listened.
threatening to drag major studios, streaming, giants, and Hollywood power players into the chaos. And in an industry where reputations mean everything, the fallout was just beginning. Once Sam Baldoni's post went viral, the entire industry seemed to divide, some quietly choosing sides, while others sat back, waiting to see who would come out on top for a while. Blake Lively tried to keep up her usual picture-perfect image. She filled her Instagram with carefully curated family moments, high fashion looks, and sneak peeks of her latest business ventures.
I'm a huge fan of you.
Oh.
Your movies are so inspiring.
If everyone can tag Justin Baldoni to his video, it would mean the world to me.
I have been trying to reach out to you for the longest. I have everything of you.
But this time, the audience wasn't so easily convinced. Comment sections were flooded with people calling her out, referencing Sam's post, accusing her of hypocrisy, and demanding she address the swirling allegations. Her team rushed into full-blown damage control, but no PR strategy could contain the wildfire sparked by a single father's pointed remark. Then, just as Blake was scrambling to regain control, The Hollywood Reporter dropped a bombshell. Their February 21st cover featured a cartoon caricature of her flinging a phone from a slingshot, a direct shot at her legal team's aggressive push to subpoena Justin's text messages.
But everyone's seeing through it. They're seeing through the BS. And, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are seeking gag orders against Baldoni from releasing information.
The message was clear. Lively's battle wasn't just behind the scenes anymore. The industry was watching, and they were making their stance known. That was a moment Hollywood insiders knew the tide had officially turned. Normally, A-list celebrities enjoy a protective barrier from major media outlets. If The Hollywood Reporter was bold enough to openly mock Blake Lively, it meant one of two things: either industry power brokers were tired of her narrative.
Co-star Justin Baldoni calling it outrageously insulting and playing into every sexist trope. The illustration depicts Lively using a slingshot to fire a cell phone at Baldoni.
Or they no longer fear the consequences of criticizing her suddenly. Lively was in full damage control mode. She fired back, calling The Hollywood Reporter's depiction outrageously insulting and accusing the magazine of downplaying serious allegations in Hollywood. These kinds of counterattacks usually work. Top-tier stars have PR teams dedicated to controlling the narrative, but this time, the public's reaction was shockingly indifferent. It was as if the court of public opinion had already made up its mind her credibility was questionable.
A spokesperson for Lively condemned the magazine, saying The Hollywood Reporter should be ashamed of itself and criticizing its article for downplaying documented examples of sexual harassment and retaliation as cultural misunderstanding.
And people were willing to scrutinize everything she said. At the core of the skepticism was a glaring issue. Her claims against Justin Baldoni simply weren't holding up, as more evidence surfaced: screenshots, behind-the-scenes accounts, and text messages. Blake's story only seemed to develop more holes. The Hollywood Reporter's bold move was merely the tipping point in a growing consensus. Blake Lively was no longer the America's sweetheart people once believed her to be. As public skepticism grew, social media detectives began digging into her past interviews and behind-the-scenes stories.
It's part of being in the public eye. She's just used to being Hollywood's golden girl, and she had such thin skin that after having a couple negative things happen to her for a month, she had to blame him. She decided to blame him, and boy, did she open up a hornet's nest and learn be careful what you wish for, because now you've got the fight you asked for and you're not winning it.
At the end of the day, they're the ones who are seeking gag orders against Baldoni from releasing information, whereas his team is saying, nope, let's put out everything. Every single text message.
One revelation that sent shockwaves through Twitter involved Lively's claim that Justin Baldoni had invaded her privacy while she was breastfeeding. It was a serious accusation, implying a violation of her personal boundaries. But then, Baldoni's camp presented damning text messages in which Lively herself had invited him into rehearse lines, casually mentioning that she was breastfeeding, but insisting it wasn't an issue.
But they're just highlighting, this is a mean girl. This isn't a good person.
When these texts leaked, the tide shifted dramatically. Many of those who had initially supported her felt betrayed. The assumption that something inappropriate had happened quickly turned into doubt. Was she making things up? Public sentiment is notoriously fickle, and in an era dominated by social media call-outs, trust can dissolve overnight. The backlash was swift. People demanded an explanation why had Lively painted Baldoni as a predator intruding unannounced when, by all indications, she had explicitly told him to come in.
So essentially, every single thing that she's claimed against him has been disproved.
This revelation poked a massive hole in the foundation of Lively's lawsuit. If such a personal and disturbing claim could be so thoroughly dismantled, what else in her complaint might be exaggerated or outright fabricated? Each day seemed to bring new speculation, as the shifting narrative led many to question whether Lively had orchestrated the entire fiasco.
She helped for the screening. She made him and his whole family go down to the basement.
Go down to the basement during the premiere of his movie.
As a power play to control the direction and final cut of the film in question. Perhaps the most shocking claim, and one that outraged both fans and Hollywood insiders, was that Justin Baldoni had allegedly been barred from attending his own movie premiere, a film he had played a central role in developing. If true, it illustrated a chilling power dynamic. Lively, backed by Ryan Reynolds, seemingly wielded enough influence to keep the very producer and lead actor away from his own project's biggest night.
Because Blake Lively had alienated the entire cast against him. She had convinced everyone that he was this monster, this terrible person.
The story spread rapidly through industry circles, sparking disbelief and anger for studios, actors, and producers. It was more than just celebrity drama. It was a troubling example of how a star's influence could be used to manipulate professional boundaries and overshadow rightful creative credits. Further reports suggested that entire sections of the creative team were pressured or influenced by Lively to exclude Baldoni and his family. This was a final straw for Sam Baldoni, who realized that if they allowed the event to proceed entirely under Lively's control, Justin's film career could suffer significant damage, possibly even derail completely.
So she could wield all creative control of the movie and end up getting her final cut of the movie, not Justin Baldoni's. And in the end, that's exactly what happened. He didn't even get to see the final cut of the movie.
In that context, Sam's public condemnation of Lively and Ryan Reynolds made even more sense. He wasn't just defending his son's reputation. He was fighting to protect his career from what he saw as an orchestrated attack on Hollywood. Relationships matter almost as much as talent. Agents, managers, studio executives, and casting directors often rally around marketable stars, but they also know that associating with someone caught in a spiral of controversy can be a risky business decision. The moment the Hollywood Reporter publicly mocked Lively's lawsuit, industry insiders saw it as a clear sign that it was no longer a career suicide to question or criticize her. Suddenly,
they're like, I'm so sorry. Like, I know this is your project. I'm sorry we can't show you anything. I mean, for him as well, he instantly had he had an award for advocating for women, something in the realm of feminism.
Quiet discussions started happening at studio lunches and private dinners. Casting directors hesitated to bring Lively onto new projects, citing concerns over reputation management. The tide had shifted, and for the first time in years, Blake Lively's once untouchable Hollywood image was beginning to crack. Further reports suggested that entire sections of the creative team were pressured or influenced by Lively to exclude Baldoni and his family. This was a final straw for Sam Baldoni, who realized that if they allowed the event to proceed entirely under Lively's control, Justin's film career could suffer significant damage, possibly even derail completely. In that context, Sam's public condemnation of Lively and Ryan Reynolds made even more sense. He wasn't just defending his son's reputation.
I mean, now other footage is coming out of Blake Lively admitting, hey, when I get involved with projects, they hire me as the actress, and sometimes I don't really tell them, but I actually want to come in and I want to rewrite it.
He was fighting to protect his career from what he saw as an orchestrated attack on Hollywood. Relationships matter almost as much as talent. Agents, managers, studio executives, and casting directors often rally around marketable stars, but they also know that associating with someone caught in a spiral of controversy can be a risky business decision. The moment the Hollywood Reporter publicly mocked Lively's lawsuit, industry insiders saw it as a clear sign that it was no longer a career suicide to question or criticize her. Suddenly, quiet discussions started happening at studio lunches and private dinners. Casting directors hesitated to bring Lively onto new projects, citing concerns over reputation management. The tide had shifted, and for the first time in years, Blake Lively's once untouchable Hollywood image was
And I want to be a
beginning.
producer, and I want to do all of these things. She's literally admitted all of this blatantly. This is just the first time that it's ended
How
up.
old is Blake Lively, by the way?
30s, I believe.
34.
To crack, producers who had quietly disapproved of Lively's rumored behind-the-scenes meddling now had a legitimate excuse to pass her over, even SAG-AFTRA, which had initially seemed sympathetic, especially given that a female star was making. Accusations appeared to take a step back, waiting to see if Lively's story would hold up to Lively's most devoted fans. These desertions felt like a betrayal, but from a Hollywood business perspective, they were entirely predictable. The film industry can be a fair-weather friend, quick to distance itself from anyone entangled in an irreparable scandal. Lively's biggest miscalculation seemed to be assuming that her star power alone.
While Baldoni counter-sued Lively and her husband Ryan Reynolds for defamation and extortion on Wednesday, Lively filed an amend law complaint stating she was not alone in raising allegation of on-set misconduct.
Would guarantee unwavering support, no matter how questionable her claims became. One of the more bizarre twists of the saga came when a leaked report mentioned Lively allegedly comparing herself to Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, calling Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons. The revelation sparked a wave of online reactions, ranging from amusement to secondhand embarrassment. The idea that Lively saw herself as an unstoppable queen, commanding one of the world's biggest pop stars and a beloved Hollywood actor as her personal defenders, struck many as arrogant and out of touch. But perhaps the most telling sign of Lively's waning influence was Taylor Swift's
She used it as an opportunity to promote her alcohol brand, which is insane because many people know that alcoholism really fuels DV.
Known for her PR mastery and unwavering loyalty to close friends, Swift never publicly came to Blake's defense in an industry where silence can speak volumes. Swift's absence was noticed by everyone. If Lively thought name-dropping Swift as her dragon would rally Swift's massive fanbase to her side, she miscalculated badly. That gamble flopped. As expected, Swift stayed out of the drama, just as she usually does unless it directly impacts her brand or personal life. Meanwhile, Ryan didn't rush to his wife's defense or take shots at Justin Baldoni. His silence spoke volumes. The very people Lively expected to stand by her were nowhere to be seen when things got heated. The professional fallout was obvious lost roles, brutal press coverage.
So it was completely tone deaf, and as a response to this, she was getting a lot of hate. In fact, people were posting old interviews of her that weren't even really relevant at all to the movie, but they're just highlighting this is a mean girl. This isn't a good person.
And even whispers of blacklisting. But the personal toll, that became just as clear. Paparazzi caught her looking tense, a far cry from her usual effortless red carpet glow. Reports claimed she was in overdrive with her PR team, scrambling to shift the narrative maybe toward charity work or personal projects. But the harder she tried to escape the firestorm, the more the internet dragged her right back in. Sources allegedly from Lively's own inner circle painted a picture of someone overwhelmed and deeply frustrated. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't control the narrative. She reportedly never expected people to rally behind Baldoni's version of events so quickly, especially since she was a bigger name and had long been favored by the media. The betrayal cut deep, but what made it worse? The unrelenting storm of social media. TikTok users picked apart her every word, analyzing each statement like detectives on a mission. Through it all, Justin Baldoni kept his cool. He barely engaged, taking a restrained and calculated approach. Meanwhile, his father, Sam, wasn't nearly as quiet. He took sharp jabs at Lively and her defenders online. But Justin, he mostly stayed in the background, issuing only a few statements and letting the mounting evidence and his father's strategic comments do the talking. Some critics tried to spin his silence as guilt, but the reality became clear when the facts are on your side. There's no need to put on a show rather than making a spectacle. Baldoni calmly countered each new accusation as it emerged, especially the claims about invading Lively's breastfeeding privacy or making hurtful comments about her postpartum body. But he didn't just deny them, he backed up his side with text messages and statements from third parties. With every revelation, Lively's credibility took another hit. What she painted as awkward or inappropriate behavior increasingly looked like moments taken out of context and spun into something far more damaging. This entire situation played out against the backdrop of a major cultural shift in Hollywood, one shaped by the Me Too movement for years. The industry has reckoned with real cases of power imbalances and abuse. At first, many instinctively sided with Lively, simply because the story of a powerful man mistreating a woman is an all too familiar reality. But as more contradictions surfaced, it became harder to fit this situation into that narrative. Industry insiders, journalists, and cultural critics began pointing out a dangerous consequence when someone manipulates a movement meant to protect real victims. It doesn't just unravel their own claims, it weakens the movement itself. In that sense, Lively's downfall could become a cautionary tale, a case future discussions will reference when highlighting why not every accusation should be accepted at face value. Some warn that if Lively's claims were exaggerated or misleading, they could do real damage, undermining trust in actual survivor stories. But one of the biggest turning points came when Justin's legal team unleashed a wave of text messages and discovery materials. These weren't just random snippets, they included everyday conversations, discussions about filming schedules, creative feedback, and even lighthearted jokes about life on set. And throughout these messages, Blake came across as warm, friendly, even flirtatious at times. She complimented Justin's ideas, ideas, sought his input, and engaged in easygoing banter. The tone of these messages clashed dramatically with her legal claims, where she painted him as cold, dismissive, and hostile toward her struggles as a new mother. As her PR crisis spiraled, the whispers of an unofficial Hollywood blacklist grew louder. While the industry rarely announces these things outright, the impact is unmistakable: fewer casting calls, dwindling invitations to major events, and brand deals quietly vanishing. The cruel irony: she set out to destroy Justin Baldoni's career, but it's her own that seems to be crashing down. Meanwhile, Justin found himself. As Justin received an outpouring of support from colleagues and even new job offers from producers, it became clear his handling of the chaos had left a strong impression. Meanwhile, Lively's team scrambled to shift the narrative desperately, trying to refocus on upcoming film projects or charitable work, in an attempt to drown out the backlash. But every move backfired, no matter what she posted. Social media flooded with relentless comments dragging her back into the controversy. Another thorny issue: Ryan Reynolds. Fans dissected his every public move, waiting to see if he would defend his wife's claims, but he never did. Instead, he kept his usual routine, posting jokes on Twitter, promoting his own projects, and making only rare appearances with Blake. Some saw this as a sign of cracks in their marriage. Others believed he was simply playing it smart, staying far away from a situation that could easily drag him down to the most unexpected twist. Justin Baldoni is now a household name. While he was already known to fans of Jane the Virgin and for his work behind the scenes, he was never exactly an A-lister. But now, people who had never even heard of him are suddenly invested in his story. Directors, producers, and journalists are reaching out, eager to see if he's open to new projects. A narrative has taken shape, one that casts him as a composed, dignified figure at the center of a media firestorm, weathering what many see as a high-profile smear campaign. And in Hollywood, that kind of publicity can be career-defining. All it takes is one explosive controversy to thrust someone into the spotlight. And in Baldoni's case, the very scandal meant to ruin him has only made him more visible. Of course, whether he turns this momentum into lasting success all depends on his next move. If Baldoni keeps navigating the scandal with composure, he could turn what was meant to be a career-ending disaster into a launchpad for even bigger opportunities. Hollywood has seen plenty of stars try to control the narrative by playing on public sympathy. Sometimes it works, especially if they have unstoppable box office appeal. But when hard evidence contradicts their claims, the backlash is brutal. Studios don't like being misled, and neither do fans. Plus, no director or producer wants unnecessary drama overshadowing their project at first. Lively's accusations had the potential to end Baldoni's career. If he hadn't had the receipts or witness testimonies to back him up, things could have gone very differently had her claims gone unchallenged. He might have been blacklisted entirely. But now, the tides have shifted, and in a cruel twist of fate, the transparency Lively once demanded is the very thing unraveling her own case. Now that the truth is out, Justin Baldoni's career is soaring as producers, talk show hosts, and studio executives search for fresh, compelling figures in Hollywood. He's being viewed as more than just an actor. He's now seen as a resilient talent who withstood a high-stakes personal attack. And in an industry that thrives on redemption arcs, the sympathy factor could open unexpected doors, leading roles in major films, bigger production deals, and increased budgets for his creative projects. Meanwhile, Sam Baldoni has emerged as a symbol of unwavering family loyalty in an industry often defined by surface-level relationships. His single social media post set off a chain reaction, unraveling a web of half-truths and manipulation. He proved that when a parent steps into the public eye, something rarely seen in Hollywood, it can shift the entire trajectory of a high-profile controversy. Ultimately, this entire saga serves as a stark reminder: behind the polished movie, posters, and carefully crafted interviews lies a world of power struggles, shifting alliances, and behind-the-scenes maneuvering that shapes every star's rise or fall.